With chapter 2 just around the corner, hopefully, and alongside it, I really hope that we see some big changes in Season 9. For what those changes are, that is going to be another video, but for now we can only make predictions, and these predictions will only take us so far. But I will have a prediction video coming soon, TM, and if you don't want to miss that, consider subscribing. However, regardless of these predictions, what we can do now is to prepare for things that we have control over. Because when chapter 2 is out, we really don't want to waste time with things that we could have prepared. Here is my list of things that we can do right now before chapter 2, and that is hopefully going to give us an edge for the new and welcoming changes. Let's get right into it. Number 5 on my list is to farm marks and, well, farm them and save them. Some of the changes we might see in chapter 2 are buff to underperforming legendaries and worst case scenarios, and nerf to existing ones. Since we don't know the goal of the Ascension team and what they want specs to be right now, but to me it seems like they want the maximum of specs to be doing around 30 to 40k DPS, and some outliers doing 40k right now. With chapter 2, that could bring some buffs to existing talents, and that means we're gonna need some resources to roll for them. But how do we prepare? By starting right now to saving marks of Ascension, we're gonna have a lot more options when chapter 2 is out, and that is to either use them to try new builds or funnel them into main specs. So if you already have a good spec, that is great, but if you also want to be future proof for chapter 2, it could be a good idea to stockpile a ton of marks of Ascension. This will allow you to spend all of the marks on your already good spec, but it would also allow you for the option to basically pivot and spend it on a new one. Maybe your favorite legendary will be giga buffed, who knows? So at least considering saving it up. And it shouldn't be a downside to spending it later rather than now. Unless you need it for your raiding build or dungeon build, of course. And if you right now maybe don't have a really good spec, or maybe just starting out, then by saving up marks right now, you could use them for the future dream spec or build around legendary. The more marks, the more freedom, and we don't know what's gonna be good in chapter 2. And by farming marks before chapter 2, that will also let you buy cheap seal packs, and that will take us to the next slide, farm seal cards on alts. So by farming marks on your alts, this is in correlation to the previous tip, and it basically means that farming marks on your alts, it means that you can, on your alts, have the best marks of Ascension per hour, and that is by completing the easiest daily quests that are accessible on the daily call board. This will let you buy the cheapest Scroll of Fortune for that alt's 90 other specializations, and yes, you don't need the specialization unlocked in order to purchase the Scroll of Fortune for that spec. We do this since we get both one pack of talent cards and one pack of ability cards along with the Scroll of Fortune. The Scroll of Fortune are however more or less useless on the alt, so we're basically just doing it for the cards. I would personally consider capping it around 1500 and then consider to make a new alt to reset the cost, since buying Seal of Cards packs for more than 1500 are not worth it that much in my opinion. And also by farming marks on your alts instead of your main, you can now save all of the marks you obtain on your main character and still progress your collection by using your alts with the cheapest marks of Ascension. And a little bonus tip, by making a level 1 character today and first leveling up later on, once that character hits 60, you will have daily quests available and stockpiled up from the day that you made the character. So for example, if I made a character 1 week ago, if I level the character up today, that character will now have 7 daily quests of each daily quest available. Here is the list on the dailies I do on my alts, since I'm not clearing the whole call board on my alts. That would be a waste of my time, since there's a few daily quests that are easy to do. This is simply because it just takes too much time, and the daily quests just get increasingly longer, harder, and more expensive. So just focus on the quests that are fast, cheapest, and the easiest one. And you can see my list here of the ones I do on my alts, and I don't basically focus on anything else. And for the profession quest, basically just aim to do the one that costs around 20 to 30 gold. I would not pay more marks of Ascension than that. You can of course also do the PvP quest on your alts, but I would strongly advise against it. This is because jumping into a battlegrounds and alike with a character that is purely built with the purpose of farming marks, it could potentially ruin the gameplay for both your teammates and for the opponents. My tip number 3 is buy missing cards. So to expand your collection, the best way I found, and it's also like combining it with the making alts and grinding seal cards on them, The best way I found to expand your collection is to either buy the rare cards or the epic cards from Silas, and this is purely just buying the missing cards from your collection. This is done with your extra Dark Moon tickets that you don't plan on spending right now anyway. If you're just starting out in Ascension and your collection is not that big, I would suggest just always saving around 3,500 to 5,000 Dark Moon tickets. And that brings up the question, why would you spend Dark Moon tickets on cards that you don't need? This is because each time that you hit a card that you already have, you will now get progress forwards 2 free golden packs. This is huge. The faster you can progress this, the faster you can get free golden packs that are worth 15 gold for the 2 of them. The way I view it is that it's literally free gold just from opening packs. However, there is a good chance that we're going to see some changes to the skill card system in Chapter 2. I'm not saying this could waste your time right now, but it could also be just as a good idea to just save a ton of Dark Moon tickets for Chapter 2, because we have no idea what changes are going to come out, and I think saving Dark Moon tickets can be just as safe. And this is also partly because opening packs right now are kinda annoying, and the biggest speculation is for Chapter 2 is that we're gonna get a way to just open them in bulk, like saying opening 25 cards and just getting shown, hey, we got 5 legendaries or 3 epic cards, stuff like that. And I think this was even teased a while back on Discord, but it never saw the light. We also has this system implemented that you can see on the screen now, where you can spend Dark Moon's tickets to basically gamble for free random legendary talent cards, and it's only talent cards, by the way. However, since the price increases for each purchase with 500 tickets, ramping up to 9,000 tickets for this, there's no nice way to put this. This is by far the biggest new player trap I've probably ever seen in a video game, and that says a lot. And that is because this is the best tool to unlock legendary cards, but it really requires you to have a big collection. So if your collection is small, you are probably just gonna see a random 5 out of 5 legendary talent, and those are just kinda easy and not that hard to hit, so you are way better to just unlocking it by opening a lot of cards. And yeah, that brings me to the best way to use this system is to sadly just don't use it. Best way to use this system is to sadly wait for your collection to be finished and just try to unlock more legendary cards before spending your hard-earned Dark Moon tickets on this, because later down the line, when you're gonna miss 20 or 30 legendary cards and you're gonna be paying 9,000 tickets each time, that is gonna be so rough. And if you're missing your one legendary talent that you've been looking for so long, then you're really gonna regret it. But with that said, I'm gonna be very surprised if this system is not changed in Chapter 2 and is somewhat kept. My hope is that this system is kept around like 2,500, 3,000. It basically ramps up to that or starts at that, but hopefully no more, because right now this is a giant noob trap if you have any hopes of trying to finish up your collection. Number 2 on the list, hunting for missing cards. And by hunting for skill cards, I mean going out in the world and hunt for preferable legendary cards. And some of these you can just find in the world. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a little time, but it's not that bad. By unlocking cards this way for free, you will now get progress forwards the 2 free golden packs each time you open a card that you already have. Most of the cards this way found in the world are free, but some of them cost gold and some of them cost up to 500 to 1,000 gold. And I would strongly advise against getting these cards unless you really need that specific card for your build. Also, by going out and hunting for these cards, with a recent change to the bad luck system, now we have a higher chance to open cards from packs that we don't already possess. So by going out and getting these cards in the world, it will increase your chance for getting other cards as well. I've also linked to someone who made a full list of all the currently found skill cards, so you can just go out and find them. Link is below. And also, besides using that list, I would suggest making your own list in like a separate document, either Google Sheet, Excel, Notepad. As you can see in the screen here, I had a friend who actually made a whole Excel sheet list where he can sort the cards that he were missing and track if there was some location where he could go and grab multiple cards at once. A bonus tip for going out and grabbing these cards, at certain levels in the Mana Storm, I think it's around 50 to 100 and above, some of the rares change into other rares from the world. And changing into these, there's a chance that they drop the rare skill cards that rare possesses. By doing the Mana Storm, it also means that you're doing some dungeon last bosses, and some of these bosses can actually drop the cards, so remember to loot them, because there's a chance that they can drop some cards. So a good tactic could also be to start with the Mana Storm first and progress your Mana Storm before going out into the world, so you can knock out some easiest card that way first. And that brings us to the number one thing I would suggest you considering doing before chapter 2, and you probably guessed it, that is increase your prestige level. It is by far the best investment you can do with your time before chapter 2. There are so many benefits, I don't know where to start. It is most likely not going to get nerfed, since it would take away like 50 to 100 scrolls from people that they have worked hard on to obtaining, so I could never see them do this. So the reason for this being number one is that when we have a new chapter like this, I really hope for a ton of new changes and new stuff to do, new legendaries, new buffs, new talents gonna be good. So the best way to go out and be able to test this kind of build is to have a ton of scrolls in your artillery, and when you hit 60. For the new chapter, I really hope we're gonna see a lot of new changes, new stuff, and some of the best changes would be buffs to legendaries and to talent. And if we're gonna see that, it's gonna mean new builds to try, and what better way to try and test new builds is to just start out of the gate with a ton of scrolls to test the build. And even if you have a good main build right now, I'm not saying to reroll your main build, but maybe to do your main build in another specialization, because we don't know, gonna be a new tech of like 2 to 3 talents that you want to combine with your main build, but do you really want to be trying to roll for 2 to 3 new talents for your old specialization where you already spent a lot of scrolls of fortune? So in some cases it might be the right play to start over, and in some cases it might be the right play to just keep going at it at your main spec. The downside of this tip, of course, is that prestiging can be boring, especially if you're only doing for the sake of it. If you're gonna prestige just for the sake of it, you're probably gonna use a potion of experience, so that is kind of a downside. But the upside of using a potion of experience is that if your build is focusing on leveling fast, you should be able to do it in under 1 hour, and that is not that bad to just get some prestige levels in. If you haven't seen it yet, I would suggest you checking out my How to Level Faster video, and in that video there are some very good tips on how to increase your prestige level. Since that video, I've cooked up, I mean barely new cooked up, but I've tried to improve the talent sets, the abilities, and how I can really easy now level to 1 to 60 in under 1 hour with no aura or no recruiter friend. I will also make a video for this leveling build and show you that you don't need to have all of the legendaries and only some of them. And it's already tested right now. Don't need Fel Infused Weapon. I was able to level like 5 minutes slower, but with Flame Tongue instead. So it's very doable without all of the legendaries. Quickly going over the build, and then after that we're gonna do the giveaway. So for this build, I am still testing the talents for the build. Currently I don't have a best in slot 6 talent, so I'm still testing these talent on the screen now out. However, the other 5 talents I am very happy with, and I pretty much card them every time, but you can of course replace them with other budget talents as shown on the screen. Quick overview for this build is that instead of spell power I'm using strength, and for my level 1 set, as you can see on the screen here, I'm using it all the way up to level 35. Here is my level 35 set. It's pretty much the same. I just swapped the weapon enchants into 15 strength. It's more consistent, and since fear weapon falls off a bit at the higher level. You could also use high risk enchants, but currently I'm just too lazy and cheap, but I might do it in the future when I get around to test it. Here is the enchant list and the mystic enchants I'm using if you just want to try the build out right after this video. In my last video, the Holy Healer, there was a giveaway, but for some reason not many people wanted to win 350 Bazaar tokens, and there was a lot of comment with people not including their in-game name, so I just wanted to do something new and spin a wheel, and I included all of the names I could find in the comments where people had included their names. So I have never tried this before, so let's give it a go, see what happens, and I hope it just works and pick one random. It's... oh, that was close. Matteo? Does it pop up? It does. Thanks on commenting on the video and sticking to the end for the giveaway. Okay, I didn't have I didn't turn recording on when I sent the Bazaar tokens, but please trust me, I just sent it to Matteo. I hope he can commenting on the last video or this video to confirm, but yeah, the Bazaar token is sent to Matteo, so congrats, Matteo. With that scam out of the way, I'm gonna round up the video. I hope you could use at least one of these tips for something, and yeah, if you have some predictions for chapter 2, I really want to hear it in the comments and what you guys think. I am so excited and hyped because there are so many ways the Ascension dev team can go with the next chapter, so I can't wait to see what they have in store. I'm still hyped for Ascension, and yeah, I have high hopes. I am enjoying my time still, so for me, I can't wait. And yeah, with that, it's just left for me to say thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next video.